Okay, I think I've met most of you or have tried to. I'm Homer Schwartz, the president of the Potomac chapter. Welcome to our 7th annual Hall of Fame dinner. Another great turnout, another great class. Just take a minute and introduce some of the former inductees who are here. So from 2004, Pat Dillon, Cathy Jenkins, and Cathy. 2005, Tom Tufts. Where's Tom? No Hawaiian shirt, what's going on here? And Dave Urick's on the way. They scrimmaged down in Charlottesville, so hopefully he'll be able to join us in a little while. From 2006, Elaine Knobloch. Where's Elaine? Lenny Castellino, 2006. Tristan Zaya. Where's Tristan? I saw him a minute ago. There he is. 2007. Is Dave still here? Dave Slavkowski was here. Where's Dave? He was here. And you get me. Okay. So I hope everybody enjoyed the dinner and the food. It's always great. A couple of people we want to thank. Norbert, are you gone? I guess he's off to another event. Liz Terry, who does all the arrangements here for the University Club. And of course, Pat Dillon, our chair of the nominating committee, and Pat McCardle, who's on the way here from Charlottesville. So let's give them all a hand, please. Okay, I put this up. You can see we're a pretty busy chapter. It's out there. This is what we're doing this year. We have so many events. We have a wonderful board. They work very hard. And we try to keep them well fed with pizza every month and get things done. But great series of events, of which this is my favorite, of course. So we'll get started. And as I said, it could get a little warm in here. We'll try to keep the doors open. I'll ask each inductee and each presenter to adhere to the times we gave you so we can keep moving along. We'll try to get done by 9, so then we'll have a couple hours to tell more stories and have a few drinks and dessert. So let me bring up Pat Dillon to introduce our first series of awards. Pat?
We've started a tradition in the last couple of years of presenting special awards to the umpires and to the referees in our area. I'm a women's lacrosse umpire. Homer is a men's referee, so obviously this is very close to our hearts. In the last few years, we have unfortunately lost 2 great people who were referees and umpires in the area. So in order to honor their memory, we have named 2 awards for them, and I'm here to present the award in honor of Madeline Curlin. We are presenting this annually to the umpire and the junior umpire who best demonstrate the qualities of dedication, hard work, and service that Madeline Curlin exemplified in her life. So we'd like to take a brief minute before we do the introductions of the Hall of Fame inductees to honor a few of our umpires and referees. And tonight, the winners of the Madeline Curlin Award are 2 of my favorite folks, Margaret Kondracki, who is now the local board chair here for all of the umpires in the Washington, D.C. region, and works very, very hard as an official on the field and also helping to train our new officials. And we'll say the junior referee, although she's not really. We've decided to go a little off track. Anne Leone is going to be honored tonight for all of the work that she's done to really coordinate and help us grow the junior umpire program. It's the high school girls that umpire the youth games. We probably have about 60, 65 girls this year. We've had hundreds go through the program over the years, and for the last at least 5 years, Anne has been the coordinator of that program for us. So both Anne and Margaret have given many, 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 many hours of service to the game of lacrosse here in the area, and that's why we're honoring them here tonight. So without further ado, Margaret, we're going to ask you to come forward. Where are you? Hiding in the back. have the tag team thing going, so we're going to be bouncing back and forth. Homer's going to come up and give the Tom Shekels Award for this evening.
All right.
I'm back. As many of you know, Tom and I played in high school together, and Tom was really one of the fathers of lacrosse in this area, along with Pat McCardle, who just came in. Pat's the other chair of our nominating committee and one of the founders of the Potomac chapter. So let's give Pat a hand. I have many Tom stories, but I won't tell any tonight because I've already told them all before. So anyway, Tom passed away about 2003, and he was actually the first inductee into our Hall of Fame. He was the only one inducted in that year. And when he died, we started this award to thank referees and junior referees who have contributed to the game. And this year we couldn't have two finer selections. So our senior referee has been an amazing person, does all the assignments of games, referees games. I referee with him. We have a great time. So we bring up Brett Bailey. Brett, congratulations. Okay, and then, see, this is our third year. We've trained over 600 high school girls and boys to be referees and umpires over the last 5 or 6 years, thanks to Ann Leone and Bill Harvey, who's not here. The rascal's down in the islands soaking up some sun, but he and Brett do an amazing job of teaching these kids. So our junior referee is, his dad's also a referee. But our winner of the junior referee is Aaron Bradley. Aaron's going to VMI. Okay. Two great people that we're remembering. I'm sure many of you know them. Gets a little sad at times, but we remember them well. So let's get started now with the class of 2009, and I'm bringing Pat back up for the first inductee.
We're good at the tag team thing. All right. Our first inductee this evening. Now, we're not going in any kind of particular order, so you're just going to have to guess and see who's coming along the way here. But our first inductee this evening is going to be Darah Bonham. He's obviously brought his fan club with him. Okay, we want to tell you a little bit about each one of the presenters that's going to be coming up, so you can know why the presenters were selected by the inductees to present them this evening. Darah's presenter began playing lacrosse when he was in the 8th grade. He continued playing lacrosse when he went to West Springfield High School over in Fairfax County. First as a goalie, and then he told me he got a little smarter and decided to play midfield. He attended Longwood College, where they unfortunately did not have men's lacrosse, so he worked as a volunteer student assistant with the women's team down at Longwood College. When he came back to the DC area, he worked with Darah. He was Darah's JV coach at Woodson and coached as his assistant there at Woodson for 1 year. And then moved to his alma mater. He went back to West Springfield High School, where he taught, he's still teaching. He's teaching health and physical education. And for the last 13 years, he's been the varsity girls lacrosse coach there at West Springfield and was named the Northern Region Coach of the Year in 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Pulick.
Thank you, Pat. I went to the Capitals game 2 nights ago, so my voice is a little bit. I was yelling at the referee on the ice. But that's the only time I yell at the referees. not really. All right, Pat called me this week and told me to, give me the parameters of the evening and the speech and whatnot. And she told me to keep this about 3 to 5 minutes. Well, clearly, Pat's never heard one of my pregame chalk talks, so but no, I'll keep it within 5. It would be a bit of an understatement to say that Darah Bonham had a pretty good run during his time at W.T. Woodson High School. I feel very fortunate to have been a part of his coaching staff for one season before coming to West Springfield. I felt extremely prepared because I had a great mentor and I learned so much from him in just that 1 year. As a 22-year-old rookie head coach, I tried to model my program and coaching philosophy after Darah because of his success. And, well, I mean, seriously, why try and reinvent the wheel? I mean, if it's successful, it's not broken, don't try to fix it. I was amazed at his level of passion, dedication, and commitment to excellence that he had for his players and program, and his respect for the game of lacrosse. During his 10-year coaching career, Darah's team posted an amazing record of 144 wins and 22 losses, which is about, I'm not a mathematician, but it's about an 800 win percentage. Nine district titles, 5 Northern Region championships, and 5 Virginia High School League state championships. Well, I guess there's an old saying that rings true here: often imitated, never duplicated. Now, with that kind of resume, tell me, you can't blame me for trying to, what coach wouldn't want to try to emulate that track record and that coach? During the incredible 10-year run, Darah had done so much for the game of lacrosse. He ran youth lacrosse clinics for beginners. He started the Fall Lacrosse League at Woodson on Sundays that is still going strong and has grown to 24 teams. He enabled a lot of players to go on and play at the next level. Even players that didn't even go to Woodson, he helped get into college and get scholarships. And that was before the whole trend of the club travel teams. He had the vision to create a showcase tournament held in early November, just prior to the early signing period. Over the course of the 8 years, the Woodson Showcase Tournament grew from about 40 girls to about, I'm going to say about 75 teams from all over the country, from coast to coast, from Oregon to Texas to New York, you name it. And they traveled to Fairfax to participate in this tournament. But his last year directing the showcase, for logistical reasons, and Woodson was undergoing a renovation, he moved the tournament from Woodson High School up to the Baltimore metro area. And today, I think it's fair to say that when he moved to Charlottesville and stepped away and stopped doing the showcase, I think it's fair to say that his tournament, I think, it's evolved into the Mid-Atlantic tournament, one of the larger recruiting weekend tournaments for high school club teams, and well attended by college coaches. We hear and read statistics about how lacrosse is the fastest growing sport in the country, in the world. No doubt, Darah created opportunities for the girls' game to grow. But more than any record or championship, what impressed me the most about Darah is not what you may have read in the Washington Post high school sports section or the numerous championships that he's won with his players, but the way he was such a positive role model and mentor for his players. He stuck to his principles, and he did it the right way. That, in my opinion, is what makes him worthy of Hall of Fame induction and a tremendous honor. It didn't matter who it was. It could have been the star player or the last player off the bench. no one was bigger than the team. To Darah, it was so much more than winning a lacrosse game, even if it meant not winning a championship or a game. It was so much bigger than that. It was more important for him that these young women learn valuable life lessons. At such an impressionable time in their young lives, even if it cost the team a win or two. So I have asked several of his former assistant coaches who have gone on to coach at other high school programs and colleges what it was like to be a part of the Woodson program with Darah at the helm. And they all said it was just such a great experience to work side by side with Darah and learn so much from him. And they couldn't really put it in words. It was just, you just kind of had to be there. You just kind of had to know. Like, it was just an awesome experience. Over the years, I've asked a few of his former players what it was like to play for Darah and what made the teams consistently play well year in and year out. And what was the secret to their success? And just about every girl said, with a pause to ponder, I don't know. It's hard to explain. You just kind of had to. He was just like an uncle, like a friend, a great mentor. He was more than just a coach. One former player told me that he had the ability to reach each player and bring out the very best in each of his players. He believed in every single one of his players, even when they didn't believe in themselves. Every member of the team wanted to play for him and not let him down and disappoint their coach. I mentioned a few moments ago about his passion and his energy. And what you guys don't know about him is and his players certainly do. He's coached for 10 years, and he would do a highlight video, not a slideshow, but a highlight video and he would take all the game films, and he would sit. And the 1 year I worked on it with him, he must have put in 40, 50, 60 hours. I'm not exaggerating. He would use these things called the VHS tape and the VCR. You guys remember that? Well, just looking at game footage and make sure he spotlights every single kid. And he would show that film. When I coached with him, I think it was probably 30 minutes. The joke was it turned into the Darah Bonham Productions. His last year, I'm going to guess it was maybe 60 minutes to 80 minutes, somewhere in there. And you got to figure, for every minute that's on those tapes, he did this every season, and it was a passion. For every minute that's on that tape, he and I would kind of figured, like, for every minute that's on that tape, on the highlight, the final product, it takes about an hour, accompanied by music. An awesome, awesome presentation, very professionally done. So, I try to do that. It's a couple years, whatever. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do. The kids appreciated it, but it just got to be too much. So I asked him. It's like, it's awfully nice for you to do this for the girls. But what is Julie, his wife? What is she? I mean, you ever spend any time with your wife? And the joke was, end of the season, go home, it's time to go home and reacquaint yourself with your wife, and by the way, extremely supportive, and she's just the Woodson Cavaliers' #1 fan for sure. So I asked him, so you go through all this trouble, put together more than an hour-long highlight video. His response was, well, he grew up in Roanoke, Virginia. He goes, I called and asked my high school football coach for some game film from my high school football games. And he never even returned his phone call. And Darah said, and now those tapes of me playing high school football are gone forever. And that was his drive to provide his players permanent memories of their high school playing days. real quick story, and I'm going to try to stay there 5 minutes. Apologize for that. During one of their playoff practices, they were deep in the playoffs. Darah noticed that someone was watching the practice from the top of the bleachers. Maybe some of the girls here remember this. So they had an unexpected visitor, an uninvited visitor, watching from the top of the bleachers in disguise. I mean, it wasn't like the big nose and the mustache and the glasses, but sunglasses nonetheless. So perhaps a little paranoid and leaving nothing to chance, Darah walked over to say hello to see who this uninvited guest was. Turned out to be a coach from a rival school, spying on his team's practice. Clearly embarrassed, the coach said to Darah, and who will remain nameless, "Darah, I'm so sorry. I wasn't really spying on your team. I mean, my season's over. You know, we're knocked out of the playoffs. But I just wanted to see what it is that you do at your practices that makes you guys so good. What's your secret? And figure out the secret to your team's success year in and year out." I don't know, maybe the coach got like some amazing ground ball drill. I don't know. But I doubt very seriously that the coach watching over Darah's 2 to 3 hour practice could have possibly figured out Darah's secret, or at least what I believe what Darah's secret was to success. And I'll share that with you all now. And if you're a coach, write this down. He genuinely cared about his players. And when your players know that you truly care about them, they're going to run through a brick wall for you. It's not all about winning games or championships, but you care about them. Instead of winning games, they will play their hearts out for the coach. And his players were absolutely willing to run through a brick wall for their mentor, their friend, and their head coach that they, with all due respect, simply called them Bonham. And yes, together they were better. Now, what coach wouldn't want to try to emulate that? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Darah Bonham.
Okay, Brian said it, so I'm done. So thank you. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate all those remarks, and certainly had a pleasure working with you, not only just that first year, but through showcases, through all kinds of opportunities we had together at Woodson, as well as just coaching together through the Northern region. I would like to thank Homer Schwartz, Pat Dillon, the board. Certainly this nomination is it's a surprise. I was in my school. I'm an educator in Charlottesville now, and I got a phone call from Pat Dillon. I thought, Pat Dillon, wait a sec, it was like a blast from the past. And Pat called to tell me that I had been inducted or would be inducted to the Hall of Fame. So I have to say that I'm both honored as well as humbled. I look around the room. Obviously, I've been out of the area for about 4 years, but I see faces that I familiarized myself with. I see folks who have contributed so much to this game. And you know, I was a little bit blimp on the radar through my time through in about 10 years. And to me, to be recognized in front of some of my peers and those who I know have contributed so much to this game, and more importantly, contributed so much to those who have played it, I think is certainly an honor, and I'm humbled by that. I did, you know, obviously coach at Woodson for a number of years. I relocated to Charlottesville the last 4 years, and there's two big important reasons for that. One is 4.5 and one is 2.5, and those are my two young daughters that my wife and I woke up one day and said, what are we doing living in Fairfax with some of the congestion and other things, so where would we like to live? So that's why we picked Charlottesville, and it's been a great experience for us. But the reality of it is those memories are never going to be replaced, and the times and the enjoyment that I had when we were going through those years was very exciting. And I just have to give you, a brief little background as to how I ended up here, coaching a girls team, and now recognized for some of our past accomplishments. I graduated from JMU with a business degree in 1990, came up and worked a couple years in private industry, and literally my wife was still at JMU. I went back there, and we went and watched a movie at JMU, and it was a movie called Awakenings. And no lie, it sounds corny, but it's the true story. It's a movie with Robin Williams, Robert De Niro, and they end up coming up with a cure that at least lasts for a short period of time. And I literally, at that moment, I was in a job I didn't like. I'm here talking about, finding my way, and it dawned on me that I need to do something that I enjoy, that I woke up every morning and had a passion for. And I'd always worked with youth. I'd always, even when I was in high school, had teams I coached. So I told my wife, fiance at that time, that I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to teach, and I'm going to end up being a coach. And that's what I want to do. And I did. My friends thought I was crazy. What are you doing? You're quitting your job? What's going on here? And it's just what I wanted to do. And I pursued that. I ended up getting my degree in teaching. I went up to Woodson High School in Fairfax, student taught, and I was lucky enough to get a job. Well, that's how it lends into the coaching piece here. I always liked basketball. I always thought football, basketball would be the two areas I would coach in. I never played lacrosse. I never had lacrosse in my high schoall. Never probably could tell you the difference between a guy's or a girl's stick when I was at Woodson, or before I even started coaching. My players could probably tell you that as well. But that year I started teaching, I was able to coach the freshman girls basketball team. So I did that for a year during that season. And it just so happened that the coach of the varsity team, her husband happened to be the varsity girls lacrosse coach. And this is the early 90s when Northern Virginia lacrosse was just barely coming out of its club level, was in its infancy when we were still trying to learn the game. And he coached the varsity girls team. Now, the only reason, quite honestly, he's not in the room today, the only reason he really did that is because the AD said, you coach the girls lacrosse team because you're my JV boys basketball coach. And if you want to remain the boys basketball coach, you're going to coach girls lacrosse. Not necessarily the best way to hire a coach. So I ended up doing that for a year at the JV level, and I loved it. It was great. I remember, though, the first conversation when he came up and asked me, he said, Darah, I got this position, pays a stipend, you're newly married, you want to get a little money in the spring. I said, sure, what is it? He said, lacrosse. I said, Don, I know nothing about lacrosse. He said, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is run plays, and you can run behind the net. It's just like basketball. So okay, sure. So I took it on. A little more difficult than I anticipated, but I truly was running pick and rolls and plays as you would run in an inbounds play from behind the net. And I'm sure there's a lot of cross-pollination, so to speak, on those two different sports. But I learned a lot. I went to clinics. I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed being out there. It was springtime. It was fun. The kids were new, they were new to the sport. It was just a good time. And then the next year, it ends up the coach couldn't make it down because he worked in Annapolis. He would end up being late, so he said, I'm not doing it. So the AD said, hey, Darah, you want to do it? I said, sure. What are the expectations? He said, make sure those kilts are turned in at the end of each year. I can do that. Got no problem. Be happy to fulfill that obligation. So I knew walking in I would be fine. So I ended up just trying to follow, see what we could do, be the best we could be. We were pretty competitive even back in those days, and so my very first game was against Robinson High School. And Robinson back in the day certainly, and I'm sure still is, a powerhouse. They'd won 40, 50-some straight games and against public school teams. I walked out there, had my team prepared, and we lost. We lost by a couple goals. And I still remember that very first game. I wore jeans and some type of long-sleeve shirt. I refused in my 10 years to ever wear jeans ever again to any game. Those superstitions that you have after you end up not doing something very well. But we kept growing. We kept playing. We kept coming together. We kept learning from each other. And the reality is we ended up doing really well. In the very last game of the year in the Northern Region Championship, we beat the same Robinson team. And I credit that to Sharon Toy, who was the coach back then as much as anybody else, about helping lead others to make others great. And I think that's what a lot of people did that were in that particular area. So, I did that for a number of years. We did the showcase, which is a great event. We had a lot of opportunities for students. Northern Region lacrosse wasn't necessarily recognized on the female side as perhaps getting the publicity to recognition. We have some great players from the Sam Taylors of the early days to go through, but we were kind of known as the run and gun kids and not the ones who were very skilled. And I think that was unfair. So we started a showcase. We did that for a number of years. It benefited our school because we went on trips every summer and had a chance to play against better competition, and certainly benefited others, I believe, in the Northern Region. And it grew to this monster. The very first year we did it, and Brian helped me organize it, we had 40-some kids. It was pouring down rain. We had 12 schools that came. And at the last year we did it, we had, 60, 70 teams. We had tons of college coaches. And it was great because we didn't charge a whole lot. We wanted the colleges to come, and we wanted that exposure. So I think that was just excitement to see the opportunity that lended itself to those athletes that had a chance to play. But when I go back and just kind of talk a little bit about, how this all began and where I ended up and so forth, it was a learning experience. I never was one to pretend that I knew all of the stick skills. I would be laughed at as I scrimmaged the girls on occasion during the games. But the reality is the tribute and the reason I'm here, while it has a lot to do with the support of the people around me, it certainly has everything to do with the players. And I was blessed and have been blessed by the experiences I've had for all my players who have had a chance to come through Woodson and to be a part of my squad. And I remember the very first year I mentioned I coached freshman girls basketball before I coached lacrosse. And I won like the first 4 or 5 games. I thought I was it, freshman coach, I'm going to win it all. And we lost like 12 in a row. And I went to Red Jenkins, if you don't know the name. He coached boys basketball in the Northern Region area for 30-some-odd years, Tommy Amaker, Chris Nocky, other folks. And I remember going to him, and I said, Coach Jenkins, I just need some help. All right, my team, we've lost 12 in a row. I know you've seen some of my practices. You've walked by, probably haven't looked a lot, but, can you give me some guidance? And he said, Darah, I can tell you what you got to do to win, son. I said, all right. So I have my pad, and ready to take notes. I'm writing it down. I said, okay, Coach, what is it? You got to have athletes. Okay? And then what? That's it. That's it. You got to have studs. You don't have any athletes. You can't win ball games if you don't have athletes. So thank you for the advice. But what I realized in that is obviously not just athletes, but having those who are dedicated. And I can't say enough for those who I had the privilege of being around and being a part of those 10 years when I was at Woodson. And we had some fabulous athletes, but more importantly than that, we had just great people. We had great student athletes who went on to excel, and very exciting to be here tonight to see them here, and a number of them. You can raise your hands in the back or stand up if you're here as a former Woodson Cavalier. And I'm honored because I realize that the wins and losses sometimes are what elevate you to perhaps get recognition, but really it's the ability to work with this group and the teamwork and the camaraderie and the fact that we did have a saying, and I stole it from some coach when I was coaching basketball, but it was TWB, together we're better. But even in this event here, it was difficult for me. I thought how great it would be to have an athlete introduce me, but I thought, you know what, that takes away from my motto that it's all about the team, and it's all about the whole, and that's what we always preached about, and that's what we did as a unit and as a squad, and I think that's why we had a lot of successes. But it certainly is owed to the students who happen to be those who were on the squad, and through those 10 years really completed my life in that time period and made things special. A couple other folks I do want to recognize, certainly my wife Julie, who said I should not introduce or recognize her tonight, so I'm not going to point to where she is. But she certainly has been the backbone and assisted me, and was certainly my coach and my teammate along the way. Michelle Maxwell Gold, another coach in the area who was very supportive and was able to work with me some of the first couple of years. And Cathy Jenkins. I have to say that when I started the program, I wanted to be the best. I wanted to dominate. I wanted to have our teams to be well represented, and I didn't have to look very far than to see Cathy and her program. I remember one year there was a coach who would also be named nameless from the public region area, and it was, first couple years wasn't necessarily the most competitive. I think they were playing left-handed by like the second minute of some of our earlier games, but non-dominant handed, excuse me. But I remember a coach from the northern region saying they had a really good run a year before, and they said, we're going to show, he was getting ready to play Cathy's team, we're going to show the private schools what the northern region is all about. And it was like 27-1. So I realized that I should never throw that out there. But the beauty of it is that our trips to Florida, the things that we did, were emulated based off a lot what Cathy had done for her program. And I saw the success that she had, and we wanted to be the best. And we had a lot of privilege of playing them. We never quite beat them. We got close one year in Florida, but never quite made that milestone. But that was good for our program, and certainly appreciate her tutelage along the way. So I guess kind of in closing, I just would like to thank everyone for the opportunity, a chance to present here to you today. I think in the end of the day, we're all on the journey, and I talk about that with the students. That's one of the things I would always say is that it's not a destination, it's a journey. And I was very fortunate to be privileged to be surrounded by great kids, great coaches, great mentors, and great people like yourself in my journey. And I'm excited for my next journey, and then my journey right now is in Charlottesville with my girls, but certainly appreciate the opportunity to be on that ride with you. So thank you.
Okay, moving right along. huh? Okay, our next inductee is Jude Collins, and I'll tell you, he's going to be presented by Dennis Stewart. I think many of you know Dennis. Been around a long time, but it's the first of our coach-player duos tonight. We have several. Dennis coached Jude at Bishop Ireton High School from 1987 to 1990. Playing at Ireton was Jude's first experience with lacrosse, which I learned. I said, gosh, he must have played at the Alexandria Youth. Well, there's Hawaiian guys around. He must have got him in there somehow. But they didn't, and he had a great teacher in Dennis. And Jude's first job out of UNC, University of North Carolina, was working with the Stewart family at Advantage Lacrosse, which has now evolved into Triple Edge Lacrosse, one of our great lacrosse groups in the area. The Collins and Stewart families remain close to this day, and it was a pleasure to meet your parents tonight, Jude. It was fun seeing everybody in the family. Dennis coached at Ireton and then went on to be an assistant at Denison University, winning 4 conference titles. Then on to Ohio State, 2 conference titles, 2 NCAA tournament appearances, and certainly they're on the map today in the NCAA. Dennis is the coach of many college All-Americans, of which Jude is the first. So I'll give you Dennis Stewart to present Jude Collins.
Thank you, Homer, and more importantly, thank you, Jude. I am honored and humbled to be here tonight. This is a little bit of an encore presentation. I had the opportunity to present Jude into the Bishop Ireton Hall of Fame earlier this year. Jude was the 7th inductee of 11 that night. That went a little bit longer than this. In fact, Kevin Quaid, one of Jude's teammates, will be selling Jude Collins Hall of Fame Tour 08-09 t-shirts in the lobby right after this. Some of these stories some people have heard before. It's kind of like a concert. We're going to have a loose set list, new order, but some of the songs will remain the same. That was for you, Darah. Led Zeppelin, Bonham. Darah, I had the opportunity to work with Darah a couple times, and a privilege. John Sothoron, inductee tonight. He was a competitor, and more than that, he was a friend. When St. Mary's Riken started their program, we had a close relationship. They would come up, we would go down every year. I think it was my first trip down. And if you haven't been to Southern Maryland, when I say down, I mean down. And I remember we were on the bus, and there was a man working a field right off to the left of the bus, and it's farming. It's not that big a deal, until I noticed that there was a mule pulling a plow through the tobacco field. Tom McHugh, another inductee tonight, teammate of mine. He's always been a mentor to me. He was not quite old enough to be a father figure. A little bit too old to be a brother. He was like that dysfunctional uncle that comes and visits and gets you in trouble at the holidays. At Alexandria, we won a lot of games. We lost a few games. But I can tell you this right now, we never lost a social event. Ever. Jude comes from a Hall of Fame family. His parents, Joe and Anita, have always been way too kind to me. Anytime I see Anita, still to this day, she's got a hug, she's got a smile, and kind words that I don't even come close to deserving. It was Anita that reminded me at the Ireton Hall of Fame that when a sophomore banquet, when Jude was a sophomore, that I said that he'd be the Bishop Ireton first All-American. And next year he was. And it was Joe who reminded me that in the middle of an intense Bishop Ireton DeMatha game that had big ramifications in the WCAC, two players tumbled into each other, tumbled off the sidelines, and Joe went to break it up and ended up getting tossed out of the game at Ireton. And then I came full circle a little bit with the family this summer when I coached Jude's nephew Joey in high school tournaments. He plays for Langley. You know, when you start coaching nephews of guys that you've already coached, you can go ahead and put the stamp on it. You're officially an old guy. I was asked one time to speak at a high school at a preseason banquet, and they told me, we want you to talk about inspiration is everywhere. Well, I talked about Jude Collins. I talked about how you can find inspiration even in a tiny freshman midfielder who'd end up being a Hall of Famer. Jude Collins has a burning desire to be great. He was the first on the practice field. He was the last to leave. He'd get a bucket of balls and shoot. He worked hard at it. He did the extra work. He's always been a fierce competitor. He's got the heart of a lion. I remember it was Jude might have been a junior. I think it was the same game when Joe got tossed against DeMatha. They had a midfielder who was Will Yateman before there was Will Yateman. He was Ian Digman before there was Ian Digman. He played football at Notre Dame. He was 6'3", 245. His name was John Talaferro. And Jude would chase him up and down the field. And it was like a hornet bothering a big bear. And I remember Jude trapping him in the corner, and John made a mistake. He slowed down. And Jude began to just rap, and actually literally chased around him, jumped up, swung his stick up in the air, took the ball away. It was an unbelievable matchup. When we were at Ireton, then we played everybody. We'd play anybody. We played everybody in IIC, Landon, Albans, Episcopal. We made a trip to Baltimore, beat the MSA-B champions, John Carroll. Actually ended up playing in Carroll's tournament. We ended up playing Landon in the finals, two teams from DC that went up to Baltimore and ended up winning the bracket. When you play Carroll in the first round, I don't think you're supposed to win their tournament. We played the public teams, Woodson, Robinson, Lake Braddock, specifically a great team in 1990 at Lake Braddock. We were WCAC contenders every year, and all along we were carried by number 6 from when he was a sophomore to when he was a senior. After Jude's senior year, Jude and one of his teammates, Brian Pavlik, recruiting was over. It was going to be done. They were both sons of colonels. They were both going to West Point. We were going to avoid the meat markets. Jude and Brian were just going to go to the Army camp. Well, Jude and Brian got up there. I got a phone call during the week. Coach, your 2 kids are the best kids of the 400 or 500 kids at this camp. They're better than the kids from Jersey. They're better than the kids from Pennsylvania. They're better than the kids from everywhere. That's where the road got a little funny. Jude's coach at the Army camp was a man, probably if you've ever met this guy, he was one of the greatest human beings in the game of lacrosse. I was lucky enough to work for him for 4 years at Ohio State. His name is Joe Bresci. And at the camp, Joe started talking to Jude about maybe being a Tar Heel. So Jude comes home. I said, you all right? We're all ready to go, right? West Point? Coach, I'm going to talk to North Carolina. Jude talked to North Carolina, committed to North Carolina. And it was after Jude graduated that I was at a camp. Actually, I believe it was the All-American Lacrosse Camp at Western Maryland College. And Dave Klarman, the head coach at North Carolina, sat his tray down next to me in the cafeteria. And he said, Coach, I'm not a religious man. He goes, but you and Bresci have made me religious. I'm like, Coach, how did I give you religion? He goes, well, You guys sold me on this kid, Jude Gowans, and I say a prayer every night that this kid can play. I said, Coach, he's fast, he's tough, he loves to play defense, he can score, and he can face off. I got to believe he's got to be able to do something for you. 10 months later, there was Jude Gowans, freshman, playing in the national championship game against Syracuse, taking face-offs. Flashback to when Jude was a freshman in high school, wearing those nice 15-person vans. We're coming back from a scrimmage or a game. It hadn't been very competitive. We played all 18 or 21 players that Bishop Ireton had at the time. We even played the little freshman kid. And I think he got a couple of ground balls. So we're riding back, and I think Jude might have been sitting with, I think Neil Keegan, who was a senior defenseman who would just sit back there and beat the snot out of the freshman, was with him. And I remember Jude mustering up in the deepest voice he could, Coach, can I see that ground ball sheet? I think I got a stud. Well, who knew at the time that freshman would end up having the most ground balls in the history of Bishop Ireton, end up being the leading scorer in Bishop Ireton, end up being the Washington Catholic League Player of the Year, end up being an All-American, end up being a first-team All-Met player. Who knew he'd be a 3-time All-American in college, first-team All-American at Carolina. You can see in the book he still holds a lot of records there 12 years later. Who knew he'd play 6 years in the professional league in the MLL and that they'd retire his jersey. You know, I've always believed lacrosse, sports, is a lab to learn life skills. Jude learned his skills like a Hall of Famer. He worked in the summers at camps, and he always took time to set aside money for a Kevin Reichert scholarship fund for one of his teammates who was killed senselessly on the Carolina campus. Like Homer said, his first job was with Advantage Lacrosse with my brother Patrick, Hall of Fame 2007. Missed that one, Homer. When you listen to Jude talk and you hear the pride that he takes in what he does, I can tell you this, Jude is a Hall of Fame businessman. Jude is a Hall of Fame family man. It is my distinguished and great honor to introduce him to the U.S. Lacrosse Potomac Chapter Hall of Fame, Jude Gowans.
Thank you, Coach. The Hornet Bear story was a good thing, right? Good. Just making sure. It's a recurring theme in my lacrosse career. Thank you very much. I appreciate this is a tremendous honor for a kid who started playing lacrosse when he was a freshman in high school. And a couple things. This for tonight for me is just a big night of thanks. And when I started working camps in freshman, summer, high school, I worked with Coach Stewart a lot in camps, and he would always end the camp with, when the parents were coming up, picking up all the kids, and say, out of all the things you learned today, out of all the things that are most important, is go home to whoever is responsible for you being here, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your grandma, whatever, and say thank you. Because they put out for you to do this. It's a privilege, it's an honor to be able to come to camp. It's expensive. People came and drove long distances to pick you up and drop you off and buy you candy and all that good stuff. So that's the first of many life lessons, Coach, I've learned from you. And I'm just going to start with a list of thank yous, and then I'm going to finish up on time. First and foremost, Coach Stewart, thank you for all that you've done. You are by far the best lacrosse coach I've ever had, and I've had a fair amount of them. You did such a wonderful job of instilling an honor and a privilege of what it means to be a lacrosse player and an athlete and a student athlete, being part of a team and I've never learned so much in such a short period of time about not only the game of lacrosse, which I think at this point in my age is a pretty minimal part of my life, but more about sportsmanship, being a man. And it's not just about the X's and O's, it's about being part of a team. And that was really something special to me. And I look back at some of the great times in my life, and they were during high school. And I just want to say thank you very much for that. Secondly, Mom, you're sitting over there. Thank you, for instilling in me the dedication of not accepting no for an answer. When I was a junior in high school from Alexandria, Virginia, which was off the lacrosse map, I would write letters to UVA and all these other colleges, and I would, at the most, get back a bumper sticker or a press guide. Or, here's a 92 schedule. Come see some games when you're at another school, kind of thing. And first and foremost, you're the most responsible for my athletic career. I'm obviously not the most physically gifted athlete that's ever come through the world of lacrosse, but I've learned a lot about hustle and determination and vigor, and I get that from you and the Picciano side of my family. If you can't tell, I'm half Italian. Second thing, Mom, which is almost as important, you've gone through a lot of hard times in your life, especially when we were in high school, and I've learned a lot from you about how to handle adversity and the challenges in your life with grace and compassion, and that's a really special thing. And I hope more than anything that true gift is passed down generation to generation in our family. That's a wonderful thing. Dad, for you, thank you for showing me to how to be a man and a father, not through words and speeches and go shovel in the driveway and taking out the trash, but through actions and examples. I've learned more than I can ever hope to learn about being a man and a father. Now, obviously, I have 2 daughters and a beautiful wife. I truly understand the importance of things that you've taught me. Most importantly, having honor in everything you do, believing in a greater good, and being a man of your word. And those are things that will be instilled with me for the rest of my life, and hopefully my kids and their kids. Joe Jr., my brother, you always seem to escape this. I'm definitely better looking. You're older. So, and yes, you are taller. That's because of those special Tom Cruise shoes you wear. You never. You have no idea what a role model you've been to me, and how much you've taught me about responsibility at a young age and hard work. I've really learned a lot about life at a very young age, about how hard you've worked and the responsibilities that you've undertaken. It means a lot to me. Kevin Quaid, you're second on the list for 2 speeches in a row. It's only because you came the second time. You're one of my best friends in high school and through college and even to today. And you've taught me the true meaning of being a friend and a teammate. And they're 2, outside of your family, are the 2 most important things to me in my life. You've always been there for our friends in good time, bad, light and dark moments. I've learned a tremendous deal about being a friend to you, and I know I'm gonna hug you afterwards. You're not a big hugger, but we'll get through that in our own way. My wife Julie, you're sitting over there as well. Thank you for supporting me through all this. You kind of came on board after the whole college lacrosse thing. I appreciate you sticking through the Bayhawks in my short attempt to a professional lacrosse career. I'm not sure if professionals means you make money or you just kind of get paid to do it. Most importantly, thank you for putting up with my knucklehead lacrosse friends. They've been, I'm sure, a challenge in their own way. And thank you for giving me, obviously, the 2 most important things in my life, my two little girls. Coach Bonham, I hear you. That's just that's number 1, important and special in life. And briefly, let me talk about lacrosse. I think when I sit up here and I give thanks to, and I'm sorry, I've been having my back to everybody. You sit up here and you give thanks, and Coach Bonham said it's not about the wins and losses or the X and O's. I think everyone here, I owe a special thank you to for your own contribution to the sport of lacrosse. It's gotten me into college, out of college, my first job, my second job. It's a tremendous community of people. I think we all would agree that it's the most fraternal, tight-knit sport that there is out there. I've had friends of mine that I've learned, that I've known through the lacrosse world that will be with me until the day that it comes. And that's a really special thing. So thank you for all of your contributions to lacrosse. I think, again, when I started writing those letters when I was a freshman, and you get back, either no answer or a bumper sticker or something like that, Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. lacrosse is on the map. And it's a really special thing from starting in high school in the late 80s, where it was New York and Baltimore and Maryland and all that, and now we're putting out some great players. And you go down to any big college list, and you always see some Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. folks, and that's really something special. So thank you, because everyone in here contributes to that in some way. And then back to just about lacrosse, I think if anyone here has ever played on a team, especially a lacrosse team, you know how important and special it is. And whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a supporter, whether you're an organizer of the game, being part of a team is one of the most spectacular moments of your life. And I've been privileged to be on two great organizations, one at Bishop Ireton High School and one at University of North Carolina. And with all of those groups of guys, you spend a ton of time with them in the locker room and the showers and in the parties, and you're doing so much time with them, and you laugh. We've cried together. I've lost some friends, one in the World Trade Center and one who was murdered in North Carolina. And those are life lessons. And the sport of lacrosse is the thing that has brought us all together. So thank you all for your contribution. Thank you. This is a tremendous event. I'm humbled and honored to be a part of it, and look forward to chatting with everyone later.
Into her coaching career and added a name on the end, so she's now Cathy Nelson Reese. Cathy's presenter began his illustrious lacrosse career way back in the 4th grade, is what he tells me. He then moved on. He was a multi-sport athlete at St. Paul's in Baltimore, where he played lacrosse, basketball, and football. Continued his lacrosse career. He was a defenseman at the University of Maryland. He played for the illustrious coach known as Big Man, our Hall of Famer Dick Adele. He's a frequent flyer as the head coach and general manager of the Major League Lacrosse team, the Denver Outlaws. He's now also helping in a volunteer role. He's helping Cathy with coaching at the University of Maryland, the women's team. He and Cathy are the very proud parents of 3 very cute little kids, in addition to all of their lacrosse. Please welcome Cathy's husband, Brian Reese.
Thank you. And very fitting that I'm coming after Jude, because as a defenseman at Maryland, I was always after him a lot, but very rarely ever caught him. And I will take a lot of credit for your Hall of Fame induction, because I know a lot of those goals and stats were against me. So good looking out. Very happy. So, first off, I want to thank the Potomac chapter for hosting this event, and congratulations to all the inductees. It is my pleasure to introduce my wife, Cathy Reese, for her induction into the Potomac Chapter Lacrosse Hall of Fame. I have been fortunate to know Cathy for 15 years. We met as freshmen at Maryland, and every day I continue to be amazed by the person she's becoming. Pretty much everything Cathy touches turns to gold. So that's kind of, everybody who knows Cathy kind of knows that. Since picking up her first lacrosse stick in 7th grade, she's won only 10 championships. That's in a row. 3 in high school, 4 in college as a player, and 3 more as a coach. It's pretty amazing. And numerous individual awards and accomplishments. But these accolades don't really begin to define who Cathy really is. The people around her are far more important than any award or title. She is truly the most selfless, compassionate, and caring person I've ever met, and her teammates and colleagues and friends will echo the same sentiment. Cathy is one of those unique people who has a big heart without a big head, and is one of those one of those people that you can always count on, no matter what. She's the type of player every coach is most proud of, the daughter every parent wants their child to grow up like, the teammate that you want to become yourself, the friend you can't do without, and a magnificent influence on everybody she's around. So Cathy, on behalf of everybody you've been associated with, I want to say thank you. Thank you for always believing in us, for always leaving a lasting, bright, and colorful impression. Thank you for being the glue that holds everything together and for always putting others in front of yourself. So without further ado, I would like to introduce a Hall of Fame player, coach, friend, mother, and wife, Cathy Reese.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Okay, well, I had tears in my eyes when Jude was talking, so who knows how I'm going to do when I'm up here talking. I couldn't look at Brian the whole time he was speaking. So we'll see how this goes. When I first learned of this honor, I was coaching the Terps at a fall lacrosse tournament. Pat Dillon asked if she could come over and speak with our team for a minute, and for all of you coaches, usually even an official asks if they can come and talk to your team. It probably isn't very good. So I was a little uneasy, wondering what in the world we were doing wrong. Were we playing the game in my head? Are we in 3 seconds? Are we fouling? Am I pushing? Am I hitting? What are we doing? Anyway, Pat came over and told our team of the Hall of Fame nomination. Our team was so excited, and I was overcome with emotion. This is such an amazing honor, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this class. 2 years ago, I was here to present my good friend Jen Adams, which I cried during her presentation as well. Heads up. And was truly moved by all of the passion and excitement for the sport of lacrosse that filled this room and all of the amazing people that were in the Hall of Fame. Thank you to the Potomac chapter, and congratulations to all of the inductees. When I sat down to think about what it was that led me here, I had 1,000 different thoughts and memories, and one thing kept resonating with me, and that is that I am truly blessed to have been surrounded by great people throughout my life. My mother and father stood by me throughout the years. Here I go. Allowing me to grow in lacrosse, to learn, to play, to compete, taking me to every practice and game and silently cheering from the sidelines. I still thank my dad. I hear silently being whispered over here. I still thank my dad for his silent, polite behavior in the stands, as I learned quickly as a coach how that is really not the style of all fans. I have 2 older cousins who taught me how to play lacrosse. Bobby and Charlie Seitz were and still are 2 people who I look up to. In 9th grade, I followed in their footsteps and decided to attend Mount Hebron High School and play for the great PJ Kesmodal. PJ changed my life. He was not only a great coach, but also a person that taught me how coaching goes far beyond the X's and O's. He pushed me to be better, and he challenged me to dream bigger. He was and still is my mentor, and someone I trust, admire, and respect. It was one day during a spring practice my senior year in the middle of a stick work drill that I blurted out I was headed to the University of Maryland. I had made up my mind, and it turned out to be the best decision I ever made, besides marrying Brian, of course. During my 4 years at Maryland, I was fortunate to play for Cindy Timshaw, one of the greatest women's lacrosse coaches of all time. Cindy, along with my amazing teammates, shaped my college career. Winning national championships was fun, but the lessons we learned, the memories we made, and the experiences we had have all helped me grow into the person that I am today. A special thank you to everyone that has ever worn a Terp uniform. I was surrounded by extraordinary teammates during my college years, all of the above. And all the players who have played there since my graduation continue to make me proud. All the players, coaches, support staff, and administrators have given me the opportunity to learn and have fun playing and coaching a sport that I love. And that's what lacrosse really is for me, is fun. I love coaching, and I have fun doing what I do, and I hope my players feel the same way. Each and every one of the players I've had the chance to work with and coach throughout the years has touched my life in one way or another. They have taught me not only about lacrosse, but about life. And I hope that I'm able to positively influence each person that I coach and touch their lives the way that my former coaches have influenced mine. When I started off, I mentioned that I've been fortunate to have had such great people around me. The people I've had the chance to coach with are amazing. I've learned so much from working with Cindy, and I've had some of the best years of my life coaching with Jen Adams, Laurie Kennis, and Quinn Carney. You are all amazing women and great coaches who love the sport and the players. But most importantly, I appreciate and value you. You're far more than just coaches and colleagues, and our friendship will last a lifetime. As I close up, thanks to my husband, Brian, maybe deciding to go to Maryland was the best choice I ever made. Because if not, I wouldn't have met you. Thank you for allowing me to continue to do something I love. Your support, your knowledge of lacrosse, and your understanding of what is important to me is much appreciated. My 3 beautiful children, Riley, Brody, and Caden, are learning very quickly about the sport of lacrosse. They all share me with the sport, and I'm forever grateful and thankful. My 4-year-old son, Riley, is already quite good with the girl stick, and I'm thrilled about the amazing opportunities ahead for them in this sport. My life has been full of blessings, and I'm fortunate and thankful to be where I am today. I have a wonderful family and friends. I represent a school and a program I'm so proud of. And I have been and still am surrounded by great people that continue to touch my life. Thank you again for this honor. And go Terps. And I did it without crying. You're better.
Cathy, you're amazing. Unbelievable person, unbelievable player. When I read about you, I go, wow. Anyway, our next inductee is Tom McHugh. All right. Tom's going to be presented by his old friend Tom Collins. Tom and Tom played together when Tom McHugh formed the Alexandria Lacrosse Club in the late 70s. Tom Collins was a defenseman. Tom McHugh worked for lacrosse living. He was a midfielder. Stayed on the field and went both ways. They've been close friends for over 30 years. Tom Collins is the godfather of Tom McHugh's daughter, Kate, who played for Cathy Jenkins. It's other way around? Sorry. Tom McHugh is the godfather of Tom Collins' daughter, Kate, who played for Cathy. And Alix Fellows at St. Stephen's. No, I'm not. Cathy's now a freshman at BC. Tom Collins and Tom McHugh are both card-carrying members of the Alexandria Lacrosse Club Hawaiian Shirt and Tie Band of Brothers, as Tom Collins will demonstrate after he presents Tom McHugh. Tom.
It's a true honor to participate in the induction of my friend Tom McHugh into the Potomac chapter of the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame. The other inductees have amazing records, and it's a pleasure to be associated with you. But I'm especially awed by the other presenters. And when you look at what they've done, you probably ask yourself, how did Tom get stuck with me? You know, it's a short story, so I'll share it with you. You know, it's not that Tom doesn't know people with great lacrosse resumes. It's just they weren't willing to do this for the money he was willing to pay. So when he called me this morning, I said, Tom, relax, I'm coming right over. So I got there, and he was a little upset. I said, look, don't worry about it. Just because I'm the 12th guy you've asked doesn't mean I'm not going to help you. So I said, look, just to tell you what a tough job this is, I said, driving over, and it's a 10-minute ride. I said, I tried to do like a Letterman top 10 of why you'd be inducted. And I said, I can only think of 4. And I said, 10 was pretty easy. Number 10 was pretty easy because you've been here for 30 years, and you must have done something. You know, 9 and 8 were hard. 7 was impossible. And then I realized that I had to think of nice things to say. And then it got sticky. So I said to Tom, I said, look, I said, he was upset. I go, Tom, I'll take care of it for you. And he wanted to pay me. And I said, no. No money. I said, donate it to Winners Lacrosse, which incidentally is a great place to send your money. I said, but don't send the pennies in the mail. Now, how did Tom get here? It's a fascinating story, believe me. He went to Notre Dame and played lacrosse there, and graduated, which surprised many, many people. With the exception of his mother, who lit candles and said a rosary every day. He graduated from college, he spent a little time in Southern Virginia, and then he was seduced by the glamour of selling viewgraphs to the government, and he moved to Alexandria. Now, does everybody know what a viewgraph is? Never mind. The important point is it wasn't very mentally taxing, which was good on a couple of levels. And two, he had a lot of time, and what he did was start the Alexandria Lacrosse Club, the first one. And I just want to put this in context here. Let's go back to 19... Incidentally, that was provided by Corporate Visions. So if you ever have a need, Steve Francis, get his card. Great guy. Now this was part of a team picture, and if you go out to the poster out front, you'll see it. And I said to Tom, wouldn't it be great to have a team picture? And he said, this is about me. They get elected to the Hall of Fame. They can have their own picture. So that's how our story begins. Tom started the Alexandria Lacrosse Club. And I will tell you from experience that his exploits are legendary. Now, unfortunately for our purpose here tonight, none of them were on the field. Now, you know, this is a politically correct crowd. Dennis, you gave me a great lead-in when you said you never lost a social event. We didn't call them social events then, but I knew what you meant. So there are a lot of our teammates, and you'll get to see them in a little while from the Alexandria Lacrosse Club, and they would hang me out to dry if I didn't mention some of the greatest hits. But I'm sensitive to time. I know Homer's there going like this. So I'm just going to go through it very quickly. A lot of you may not understand, but you'll see the guys stand up. You ask them, and they'll tell you stories you won't believe. Now, and Tom's kids are here. And I want you to know, and I mean this, there was never alcohol involved. And your father was always a gentleman in his own special way. So I'm going to go through this quickly. I couldn't even begin to try to explain. You know, you'll hear people titter and guffaw and stuff, and they were there. The first one, we call it Pop Goes the Sponsor. We finally, in the early days of Alexandria Lacrosse Club, I mean, there was literally no lacrosse in the area. We were lucky to have 15 people show up for a game. We finally got a sponsor. The guy was a beer distributor. Now, is that heaven or what? So, you know, it was the second year where we had our end-of-the-year party, which was a big deal for us. It was the spaghetti mill in Springfield. And he shows up. Without going into a lot of detail, the last thing I heard him say to Tom is, we have to talk man to man. And we never saw him again. The next one had special meaning, and I put this in because it always makes me laugh, and I just call this the drive-by barbecuing. And without ruining Tom's reputation, I can't go much further except to say that the guy he hit had a brand new suede jacket. In Baskin-Robbins. And I thought the highlight of the evening was the guy trying to wipe off the barbecue sauce from his suede jacket with those little Baskin-Robbins napkins. The next one I call Here Comes the Judge. And this happened, I got in trouble for this one. And it involves Tom's brother, who's a judge, his other brother, Tim, who was with me with Tom, and they both said they didn't have anything to do with it. I got home at 4 in the morning, and I was in big trouble. In fact, my wife wouldn't let me hang with Tom for a couple of months because she thought he was a bad influence. And then Tom got married to his lovely wife, Brooke. I learned to make responsible decisions, and we were able to hang out again. And here's another one. This is another social event. This is pre-Dennis. He didn't hear this one, but there are a lot of people who have. In the old days, you know, you could get a field, but it was tough, and they were never lined, and half the time you had to cut them yourself. And so we had one where we had to cut the field, and we had a lawnmower with us for our social event after the game. And Tom lived in what's called a garden apartment. And sometime during the night after the game, someone accidentally started that lawnmower in Tom's living room. Now, fortunately, no one was hurt because Tom was very safety conscious. And he's told me many times he would have never done that if he didn't live on the ground floor. He said, if I lived on the second floor, that would have never happened. So the last one finally gets us to something that Tom had in his repertoire as a player. We had a guy who had a Harley Davidson, brand new Harley Davidson. And he was playing lacrosse, but he was more Harley Davidson than lacrosse, way more Harley Davidson. So he has his new Harley Davidson, he parks it, it was a half a mile from the field. Tom, who had possessed one of the hardest shots I've ever seen, never sacrificed power for accuracy though, managed to put a huge ding in the gas tank of that new Harley. And that was almost a near-death experience. Now, just to follow that line a little bit, we have Kirk Voorhees here, who was our crease attackman. That was back in the day when they spent a lot of time screening the goal. And Kirk was great because he could block out the sun. Kirk now has 2 titanium knees. He's got permanent holes in his back from where Tom hit him. He took a couple hard shots to the head. So if you get a chance to talk to Kirk, he was like that before he got hit. Tom, once we sort of phased out of it, we're in like the late 80s now. I skipped a few years. Tom became very involved with the Notre Dame Alumni Association. In fact, he was president of the local chapter. And I think it's fitting to note that Tom's involvement corresponds almost directly with Notre Dame's decline in football and rise in women's lacrosse. In fact, I understand it's not touchdown Jesus anymore. It's shooting space Jesus. And if you don't know what shooting space is, you're never going to figure it out anyway. After ALC, Tom made another contribution to the world of lacrosse. He decided that Alexandria City needed a youth lacrosse club. And literally within 6 months of the idea, the first time he told us about the idea, he had created the club, he'd built the board, he'd collected contribution which allowed ALC to give scholarships, he attracted and trained coaches. In social outreach, he conducted many clinics with the public schools in our area. He even went to the basketball games and tried to recruit kids who were playing basketball to come to play lacrosse. He developed a relationship with the local high schools. He created an alliance with the city. He fielded teams in almost every age group, sometimes 2, some which won championships, and finished in the black. I think that deserves it. Then he took over Winners Lacrosse from our friend Bruce Baschuk, who's here. And if you're not familiar with Winners, you need to get familiar. It's a tremendous organization that provides opportunities for inner city youth to grow as students and individuals through lacrosse. Clinics, teams, counseling, and a contribution there is certainly well spent. Tom took over from Bruce, and he continues with the momentum of that important organization. So you ask yourself, how do you measure contribution to the game of lacrosse? I mean, we've had some people up here who have tremendous records and continue to serve. And on the field, you create excitement, you pull people into the game, and you create something that has a lasting effect. We have coaches here who have had tremendous programs and have had impact on kids that the kids won't realize. And I say kids, I'm looking at some of these Woodson girls with the beers in their hand, and I figure they're probably not kids anymore. They realize it. Free drinks. Tom's contribution is measured by a legacy of giving back to the sport by creating organizations to perpetuate that contribution after he leaves. I shouldn't say leaves. Winners, nationally recognized model of using lacrosse to give back. And there are kids now in this city on scholarships to some of the finest high schools who would have never had that chance if it hadn't been for Winners Lacrosse, and it keeps getting stronger. ALC, the youth ALC, it exemplifies youth sports at its finest. It's using the game of lacrosse to teach sportsmanship and the joy of competition, and is socially responsive and financially, and I say financially a couple times, you figure where I come from. I mean, they're actually able to do it and make a profit so they can give back to the community, which I think is fabulous. But the true power of lacrosse in the hands of someone who really cares, an example of that is the legacy of Alexandria Lacrosse Club, the one Dennis mentioned that had the social events. You know, when we started, I said when Tom started in '76, there were probably 2 or 3 high school programs in the area. You know, that first group of people through those first 5 years, we ended up with 10 high school coaches, Dennis being one of them. At least that many assistants. Every one of us, most of us have been involved in building and improving and sustaining youth programs, and we're almost unanimously active in programs of giving back, like Winners Lacrosse. 30 years later, we're best friends. Our families are friends. We're business associates. We donate time and funds to worthy causes, and we always have a great time. And it's all based on Tom's idea of his efforts to keep it going. And it exemplifies what great sports are all about. And I'm just a messenger. For the Alexandria Old Boys, and I'll ask you all to stand up. Don't be embarrassed. David? I think the saddest thing of all is this used to be really funny. And now it's reality. So we want to induct Tom into the Hall of Fame in a way that it should be done with the Alexandria Old Boys Creed. Tom, could you come up here? Stand up, guys. I got a cheat sheet, so don't worry. Tom, we're proud to induct you into the Potomac chapter of the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame, but we want to do it in the right way. So always, always remember.
You can only be young once, but you can be immature forever.
Where does one start? Where does one start? You know, I had a thought about lots and lots and lots of people to give that speech this evening, and Tom, you're one of them.
I think I was the 12th one.
That's right. And Cathy, I know exactly what you mean when you say you get emotional and you tear up. Listening to Dennis's speech was just incredible to me. Dysfunctional uncle. Good evening, everyone. Homer, Pat McCardle, Pat Dillon, Hall of Fame nominating committee, fellow honorees, teammates, friends, and of course, family. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak about something that's very near and dear to my heart. The Potomac chapter is bestowing an honor on 6 people this evening who love the game of lacrosse. I believe I speak for those 6 honorees when I say that it is we who are to be honored, that it is we are honored to be part of such a wonderful sport and community. And to my fellow inductees, I offer the following thought. Enshrinement is not a euphemism for embalmment. It's a little deep, guys, I understand. So tonight we celebrate our sport. I would not have received that great call from my friend Pat McCardle last fall and be standing here without the support of many people sitting in this room and many others who are not here. Preparing for tonight made me realize that my involvement in lacrosse is really divided into 4 segments, so for the next 2 hours I'm going to go into them in detail. Initially, 2 people really got me hooked on the game of lacrosse. My brother Tim, who's here with me tonight, and my college coach, Rich O'Leary. For Tim, I was the younger brother who had no choice to throw the ball, but to throw with the ball with him. So he, yes, it was all about Tim, could get better. But it was pretty cool to be walking around in southern Rhode Island in 1966 as one of the only people holding a lacrosse stick in my hand. If you had a Narragansett beer can in your hand, that was a different deal. You were among many at that point. It was also very cool that my big brother went to Notre Dame and played a college sport, as did my brother Jim at Brown. It was very cool that Tim ultimately became team captain, coach, chief cook and bottle washer of Indy's club team. When I landed in South Bend a couple of years later, I met Rich O'Leary. Decided not to play my freshman year, but the game was still in my head. And I remember going out on a very typical February South Bend morning to watch an early season scrimmage. The temperature was about 15 degrees plus wind chill, but the guys were having a ball. And as I sat there and I watched and I froze, I realized it was time to get involved in this great game. Rich O'Leary, Notre Dame's first coach, had the expertise. He was an All-American attackman at Cortland State and a teammate at Dave Urich. That could be a downfall. He had the persona to make us all feel very welcome and the Irish blarney to keep us all laughing. Rich handled things very deftly. I remember on our senior trip to Florida, a couple of my classmates and I found a local watering hole and spent about 15 minutes too long there one night. Upon returning to our rooms, we were a little rowdy out in the parking lot. Rich magically appeared and asked us to retire and said he'd see us at practice the next day. Nothing more. Practice started at 9, and it was already 108 in the shade and about 95% humidity. I do not recall Rich ever making us run as much as he did that morning. I mean, blowing chunks, foaming at the mouth, heat stroke running. But the message was delivered. 2 days later, after winning our third game on the trip, Rich joined us at the same watering hole and made sure we enjoyed the remainder of the spring break. No grudge, just set the right example, boys. The lessons learned from Tim and Rich laid the groundwork for the Alexandria Lacrosse Club, and you got an introduction to the guys. A ragtag group of former college players banded together, and we've enjoyed each other's company for the last 35 years. We won some games, we got close, we got into some championship games. We didn't win, but close. But most of all, we became the ALC, a badge of honor we continue to wear today. Little story about the ALC. We were pretty particular about how this group was put together. We weren't trying to be too selective, but we gave guys an entrance exam, and it was about 50 questions, and people had about 3 weeks to complete it because it was not an easy exam. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples of the questions that were on the exam. Some were essays, some were multiple choice. We asked world history questions because we wanted well-rounded people who understood about history and understood the history of the game. And so one question, for example, was give a dissertation on the ancient Babylonian Empire with the particular reference to architecture, literature, law, and social conditions. Alternatively, what was Joe Gibbs' first name? We knew lacrosse was going to be an international game, so we wanted to know if people knew international history. So we had another essay question. 6 kings of England have been named George. The last one was George VI. Name the previous 5. And our games were on Sundays, so we wanted to know if guys had sort of some religious history and background. And so we asked the question, approximately how many commandments was Moses given? We asked math questions. We wanted to have well-rounded people. So we wanted to test their knowledge of time because we had to play within quarters and the time was running. So we asked the question, give or take 12 hours, what time is it when the big hand is on 12 and the little hand is on 5? We asked statistical questions to know the guy's ability to count and keep track of scores and things of that nature. So the question was asked, if you have 3 apples, how many apples do you have? We played outside. We played outside, and we didn't have dome stadiums. We didn't have artificial turf like you have today. So we wanted to know about atmospheric conditions. So we asked science questions, and we asked the question, and this was the first multiple choice question, and it was a toughie. Where does rain come from? Answer A, Macy's. B, 7-Eleven. C, Canada, or D, the sky. What's the answer? Dennis? Canada. Attaboy. There you go. Dennis was a player in the ALC. That's my guy. We wanted to know about physics and the way shots worked and leverage you got with the stick and shooting and that sort of thing. So we asked the question, explain the principle of dynamic equilibrium. Alternatively, spell your name in block letters. And finally, we asked general knowledge questions because we really wanted to make sure we had a well-rounded crowd. So we asked a couple of questions like, what are coat hangers used for? We asked the question, where would you find the basement of a 3-story building? Armed with answers to questions like these, we formed our club, and you see the product is still here. This is what it got us. Yeah, they were tough. They were tough. Well, that's why you had 3 weeks. Career challenges and starting a family took me away from the game until 1998, and that's when an entirely new chapter began, the emergence into youth lacrosse. For the past 10 years, parents have risked their children's future by letting me be their coach. And I thank them for that. Fortunately, the stories from college and club days are locked in a vault in Fort Knox. These kids are great and provide an opportunity for me to plant the same spark for the game of lacrosse that I received in the early days. The other huge benefit of coaching youth lacrosse is knowing that for 4 months a year, 3 days a week, no matter how tough times are at the office or in life, I have 22 kids to focus on that bring everything back into reality. These kids are what the game is all about. The final chapter, the 4th segment, is Winners Lacrosse, the nonprofit started by our friend Bruce Bashik, and provides another level of satisfaction by using the great game to benefit at-risk kids in the city of Washington. We're now in our 8th year. We reach over 500 kids a year to teach them the game, life skills, and help them achieve educational opportunities they might not otherwise have. Tom alluded to some of the things that happened this past spring under the guidance of our new executive director, John Kornfeld, who's here tonight, and I get a chance to meet John. He's a great young man. This past spring, we helped a number of young girls and boys get into schools like Georgetown Visitation, Gonzaga, Carroll, and O'Connell, places they would never have dreamed of. You cannot begin to imagine the drive and motivation of these kids who face insurmountable odds, and lacrosse is a vehicle to help them accomplish their dreams. These are amazing kids. In conclusion, I could take another 30 minutes to thank everyone who has helped make this evening happen. So, Homer, what I'd like to do is take about a 10-minute break, get everybody a drink of water, and come back and do that. Is that okay? Does that work? Okay, we'll be back 10 minutes. Seriously. Seriously. To my ND teammates, to my ALC Mafia, to the hundreds of families at Fort Hunt and Alexandria Lacrosse, to Gonzaga and Winners, thank you for being a huge part of my life. Thank you to my brothers Tim and Jim and sister-in-law Cathy for making the trek down here from Boston. But most especially, thank you to my beloved family. Tom, Bo, and Laura Lee, I'm going to let you in on a little secret tonight. You never really had a chance of saying no to playing lacrosse. Thank you for putting up with Dad as your head coach. Fortunately, Tom and Bo, you've moved on and have coaches who really know what the hell they're talking about. Laura Lee, sweetie, your time's coming. Just hang in there. Another couple of years. And to my wife, Brooke, my biggest friend, my biggest supporter, you two have been dragged into the game. Thank you for supporting me, for putting up with endless seasons, altered weekend plans, trips to tournaments, and defending me to opposing parents who complain about the guy with the loud voice. I love you very much. In conclusion, let's all work hard to make the game fun, to teach it the right way, and make sure that everyone who learns the game from all of us in this room remembers the ALC credo, and you stole my thunder, damn ya. You can be young only once, but you can be immature forever. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
It might be distracting. He has to keep looking at that. He needs to turn that to the wall. To the wall. There you go. Okay, we're coming down the home stretch, folks. I got 2 more inductees to go. Tom just gave me a great lead-in for our next inductee as well as presenter when he said you want to have people who teach it the right way. These next 2 folks who are going to be at this podium are truly 2 of the people who teach it the right way. Every time I've gone to their school, and you know, I have to have a little aside here. I'm an official. I've done Darah's games when he was at Woodson, and I've done Cathy's games at Maryland, and also when she was a player. But I must say, 2 of my favorite people are the next 2 who are going to be up here. 2 favorite coaches. They restore my faith in coaching and in lacrosse every time I go to their school or on the road and do their games. They're 2 of the finest coaches that we have in lacrosse today. So our next inductee is going to be Alix Fellows. Presenting Alix tonight, I pretty much said the same stuff last year, but we'll say it again because we have a whole new crowd. Alix's presenter grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, where she was a basketball player. Never saw lacrosse. She came to the Washington area, graduated from American University, went on to teach physical education to lower and middle school students over at St. Stephen St. Agnes, where she remains to this day. She coaches the JV tennis team, but also the women's varsity lacrosse team over at St. Stephen St. Agnes, having never played the game herself. She's one of the most successful high school coaches in the entire country. She's a former inductee here in the Potomac chapter. And I must say she probably wouldn't nearly be as successful as she is without Alix's help and guidance along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, Cathy Jenkins.
Thank you, Pat. It's really hard to follow Tom and Tom, I can tell you. We're not quite as funny as they are, but we'll try. It is such an honor and privilege to be here tonight to speak on Alix's behalf. She's a dear friend and has been a source of inspiration for me. She is and has been a mentor and a role model dating back to when we started the St. Agnes team in 1976. Our program has traditionally been strong, and I give much of this credit to Alix's contribution. She believes strongly in solid basic stick skills and the value of using wooden sticks and developing proper technique. She is loved by all for her bright and positive presence on the sideline and her energy she brings to our program. When we started the lacrosse team, it was just the 2 of us. Now, 33 years later, our staff has increased to 6, and Alix at 75 still remains an integral part of the team. More amazing than the number of years Alix has been involved in Saints lacrosse is the fact that Alix is a volunteer and has never been paid a penny for her service. Through the years, her love of the game and dedication has touched and provided direction to the lives of hundreds of young girls. Alix is also a volunteer for the field hockey program and has brought the hockey team the same focus on strong skills and instilling a winning culture. Her competitive spirit is always present on the field. Alix has a very interesting history. She's been married for 50 years to Charles Fellows and is the mother of 5 sons. She attributes her ability to handle just about anything to handling 5 boys under the age of 6, while Chuck, a Navy submariner, was at sea for extended periods of time and unreachable. She started coaching as a way to have contact with girls. Alix is a native of Ireland and played lacrosse at Hillcourt School in Dublin from 1943 to 48 and was captain her senior year. She finished her high school education at the Windsor School in Boston and was captain of their inaugural lacrosse team in 1949. She was the only player who had ever played, so it was nothing new for her to come to St. Agnes to help get another team started, but this time as a coach. She still competes as an athlete and enjoys playing tennis every week. Alix comes out every day with a smile on her face and her life-saving mints in her hand, offering to us coaches. I would bet she has a pack of lifesavers in her purse tonight. She is the only coach I know that can tell a player she has been cut from a team and have her leave the field with a smile on her face. She is a voice of reason and maintains sanity when things become crazy. The younger coaches that work with her in the JV program know they are working with a master, and their loyalty is unbelievable. Alix has a number of memorable sayings the coaches and girls will never forget. Girls, bend to pick up that ball. We would need to see grass stains on your knuckles. Wooden sticks are the best way to learn how to throw and catch. Stone, paper, scissors. The sun will always rise tomorrow. That girl is fine china. We're burning daylight. Do you need my glasses? If you slide your hand down on your stick, you're going to get a tennis ball on that stick. Another day, another dollar. Alix was the person who got us involved in international travel to England. Our first trip was in 1985. She loved to share the many stories about those trips. You should ask her about the broken lamp at the headmistress's house at the Benedin School. For Alix's 75th birthday last year, we wanted to do something special. I called her daughter-in-law and said, she said Alix would love a Hummer. Not the typical request for your birthday. So as a surprise, we rented her a Hummer and took her to her lacrosse game at Bullis School. The smile on her face was priceless. We don't have very accurate records when it comes to JV games, but Alix's combined total for wins in field hockey and lacrosse must be approaching 800. But our zeal in getting her recognized tonight is not about her wins. It's about what she models for us all every day. Hard work to build skills, service to your community, honesty and fairness in all that you do, and the ability to keep an eye on the bigger picture. Plus, a wonderful sense of humor is a gift she gives to us all. It seems that her example is becoming harder and harder to find in sports today. Alix Fellows is the unsung hero, who not only has demonstrated long and faithful service to St. Stephen's and St. Agnes, but has brought warmth, humor, high standards, and great expertise season after season. She is a no-nonsense person, and she has lived the mission of our school, which is to value goodness as well as knowledge. She has served as a wonderful role model. She's indeed a great coach and a teacher. I am excited that you will have the opportunity to interact with Alix and experience her humor. She is a wonderful lady who has been the backbone of our program. As you may know, St. Agnes merged with St. Stephen's in 1991. Some say they merged so Alix would only have to walk the 200 yards to the field every day and never have the excuse that she is too old to drive. I expect her to be on the sidelines for many years to come. She is very deserving of this recognition by the Potomac chapter. I want to thank her for everything she's done for me and the program. And as Marcia Way and I always say, I want to be like Alix when we grow up.
Cathy, you're too much. You know, I'm really embarrassed to be up here. When Cathy called and told me about this honor, I said, oh, you're joking. She pulls jokes quite often. And I know the people that they've inducted before, because I've been here and I've seen the caliber of the people. No way, Cathy, you're putting me on. However, I'm here, and I would like to thank everybody who made it possible. Just a quick sketch on how I became involved in lacrosse. As Cathy mentioned, I was born and raised in Belfast, Northern Ireland. During the Second World War, my sisters and myself were sent to Dublin to a boarding school because Dublin was a neutral country and was not being bombed as the North was. The school was run by two English ladies who were passionate about girls' sports. And they really were into competition, which in that day, early 40s, I guess, in this country, it really wasn't true. As we had no gym, all the sports were played outside. From September to April, we played hockey and lacrosse 6 days a week. 2 weeks of the month we played hockey, and 2 weeks of the month we played lacrosse. However, we played a little bit more lacrosse because very often the fields were so wet you couldn't play hockey on the fields. Of course, in those days, lacrosse was different. There were no boundaries, and there were no substitutions when you played competitively. So basics were key, and fitness was key. Because if you dropped the ball and you had to pick it up. 9 times out of 10, you picked up a whole wad of bog. Tricky, very tricky. So this meant you had to throw a pass that could be caught, and you had to catch the pass that was thrown. Otherwise, you were out of luck. I guess this was the birth of my obsession with basic skills. After 5 years of this regime, I got a chance to go to Boston to a girls' school for a year on a scholarship. The AD at the school was a friend of a woman called Margaret Boyd. You're all too young to know who Margaret Boyd was, but she was a coach and a teacher at Wickham Abbey, which was a very renowned English boarding school that was big in lacrosse. And she also was the first captain of the national English lacrosse team that played after the war. And the lady who was the AD was a good friend and taught the AD lady at the Windsor School in Boston to put in lacrosse in the spring of '49 when I was there. Well, I was the only person who'd ever played or ever seen a lacrosse stick. So I got to play all the time. Great. And then they made me teach basic skills because, of course, I'd been playing for 5 years in Dublin. Interesting. Fast forward 25 years. In 1949, I returned to Ireland, met an American midshipman. I immigrated to America. We married. And from 1955 to 75, we lived at one time or another in every submarine port on the East Coast, from Key West to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And in the meantime, fitted in having 5 boys. And then, as inevitable as death and taxes, we were ordered to Washington for duty. That fall of '75, through Navy friends who had daughters at St. Agnes, I met Gudrun Callahan. Gudrun was the AD and hockey coach at the school. We had a bond in common. We were both Europeans, both immigrated and married Americans, and came to live in America. Gudrun was trying to juggle being an AD, coaching 2 hockey teams, and she was expecting her first baby. So I said, Gudrun, I'll come and give you a wee hand. She accepted. Naturally, I was going to meet the other coaches at the school, and one day, Cathy Jenkins walks up to me. She was the basketball coach, and said, I've been told I've got to start a lax team. I've never played, and I know nothing about it. Do you know anything? Well, I said, yes, Cathy, I played in the 40s. Of course, that was before Cathy was even born. She and I then said, all right, you teach the basics and I'll teach it like basketball. And so, spring of '76, it's not 1976, 1776, 200 years later, St. Stephen's and St. Agnes School walked on the lax pitch for the first time. The rest is history. It is well known what a type program Cathy has built, even attaining the #1 national ranking according to Lax Power. Of course, the game has changed dramatically since those early days, but with all the changes, Cathy has stuck to her guns, and her players still have outstanding stick skills. To ensure that the younger players home to it, we still use wooden sticks for our younger girls. I coached Cathy's JV team until 1994, and then we brought in young coaches who had all the new innovations. Some of them had played for us, gone to college, and come back to coach for us. What fun to have the likes of Maggie Vaughan, Melissa Foote, Anna Yates, Beth Barrow, Catherine Riddle Miller, Kristen Scythe, among others to coach our team. And instead of moaning about having to put up with the old crone, they made me feel like I was still an essential part of the coaching staff. And so I stayed on as the watchdog, ensuring that basic skills were stressed. I've even gone as far as cutting holes in a tennis ball and slipping it up the shaft of the stick, so there can be no way to run your top hand too far down the stick, which is a no-no in my book. I was told the other day by a former player that it was so embarrassing to be seen with a tennis ball on their stick that she'd have done anything to avoid it. Julie Hauser, are you here? Of course, the greatest satisfaction for a coach is seeing the young players mature as individuals, as players, teammates, and having fun in the process. I've been blessed over the years to have coached countless young girls who've become a part of my extended family. Cathy, could you hand me my glass of water? Yes. Because I want to tell a couple of stories. A couple of stories before I close. Cathy and I took the team to England in the early 80s. I think we were the first Lax team to do this. The tour was planned by an English company who'd never done an American high school tour. They'd only done rugby tours. Now that says something, right? After an overnight flight, we arrived in London early in the morning. As it was too early to check into the hotel, we had to hang out on the bus that was going to take us to the game in the afternoon. It was a bitterly cold March day, and by the time we took the field, it started to snow. Our kids by this stage were shell-shocked. And all they could think about was, when are we going to get home and get a hot shower and a hot meal? Well, we got beaten badly. When we got to the hotel, we found that the passageway to the bedrooms was so narrow, the kids had to unpack their bags so they could fit down the hallway. The showers were rusty pipes coming out of a concrete wall. The hot chicken salad was a thigh that still had feathers attached. We look back on that first trip as a real test. And to this day, we still chuckle and realize how far we've come. Actually, Cathy and I gave a briefing to the gentleman who was ahead of the tour, and we briefed him well how we really had to have a little bit more on the tour. My lacrosse beginnings, noted earlier, came full cycle on the last trip I did with Cathy in England. We were playing Berkhamsted School, at that time an English powerhouse.
Next up, finally, before we wrap things up here, another coach-player combination. So John Sothoron is our final inductee. He's going to be introduced by Jude Archangelo. One funny story, when I called up John to say that he was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, there was this sudden silence on the phone. He said, well, I was going to be in Aruba that week. Then he called me back the next day and said, I'll be there. I wanted to say, are you crazy? John's going to be presented by Jim D'Arcangelo. I think all of us know Darky, Mr. Lax World. John coached Jim at Towson in 73 and 74, and they've been close friends, and the families have been close ever since. They both have vacation homes on Lake Keuka in the Finger Lakes, and vacation together often. John's son Reed is Jim's godchild. Jim, we all know, is a two-time first-team All-American, a member of the Baltimore Hall of Fame, and a member of the National Hall of Fame.
That's my dad, Homer. You're losing it.
Oh, I'm not. So I present to you Jim D'Arcangelo to present John Sothoron.
This is a tough place to be with Tom and Tom. Do you guys have your own show? I mean, unbelievable. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate John and all the inductees this evening. It's a great honor. Congratulations to everybody. I'd also like to mention what a nice job the Potomac chapter did in planning this event. Homer, Pat, kudos to you and everyone involved. You know what? As you get a little older, you gotta get these cheap glasses. I have to tell you, years ago I could see two turtles having sex on the side of the road driving 60 miles an hour. Now I can't see 15 inches in front of me without these glasses. Anyway, I'm not kidding you. Anyway, on to John. John's been inducted into St. Mary's College and Towson University's Hall of Fame. He started the lacrosse program at St. Mary's Riken High School in '89, which he started from scratch, from raising the money to building the fields to getting the coaches along with himself. As a coach, he has on numerous occasions been named Coach of the Year, produced winning teams for more years than I can count. But I'm not going to get into this. I know you have his bio in that little brochure that's in your program. We all know John was an exceptional athlete and a great coach who's given back more than most to the grand sport of lacrosse. It's the man he is that I want to talk about this evening. John has a place up at Cuca Lake. Homer just said that, in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I took my family there this past summer. We spent about 2 weeks with John and his wife, Mary. And when we returned home, my daughter, Sam, she's here tonight, she wouldn't have missed it, asked if Mr. John and Miss Mary could be her honorary godparents. That's the type of response people have after being around John. You know he's special, and he makes you want to be part of that. It's infectious. He has forever touched and molded the lives of the players that were privileged to be coached by him. He instills the old school value that hard work does pay off. Through his honesty, integrity, sacrifice, and dedication, he has built character in every young person fortunate enough to cross his path. As a player, it's hard not to believe in yourself when he believes in you with such spirit and passion. John's a true motivator who knows how to get the most out of every athlete. Every parent would be blessed to have a John Sothoron coach their child. He's a great husband, father, friend, and coach. I've been involved in lacrosse for my entire life and have been surrounded by many greats, but I especially am honored and proud to present John Bennett Sothoron for induction to the Potomac chapter of the Lacrosse Hall of Fame. John, I love you, brother.
Jim D'Arcangelo, special guy, special friend. He, you know, he's the owner of Lax World, but a lot of people don't know what an extremely generous guy this person is. When they had the shootings at Columbine High School years ago, it was during the spring, and the boys lacrosse team could not get back into their school to get their equipment or their jerseys to continue their season. So what does Darky do? He outfitted the whole team out of his own pocket, free of charge. He didn't seek publicity on this. He's just a very generous and warm guy, and I'm just pleased that he is my special friend. But special guy right here. Homer, I can't say the same thing about you. You ever had this guy as a ref when you played a game? He blows the whistle twice, to start the game and to end it, and nothing in between. 2 years ago, we're up at Bullis playing. My captain gets cross-checked in the back and the rear. He's flat on his back. I'm out there. He can't feel his legs. I'm pinching. I said, Paris, can you feel this? He goes, no. My team's praying on the sideline. I said, Homer, don't you think that was a foul? He goes, he's breathing, isn't he? He's a freak of nature. I played in a game with him in Florida 5 years ago. He's 95 years old now, so I don't know how old he was then. He's running midfield. We played 3 games in one day. I'm a goalie. I'm standing in the goal, and I'm exhausted, all right? He runs 3 games at midfield, and he says, my knees are a little tired. He's a great guy, Homer. Thanks a lot. This is great. This is just super stuff to be here, and I want to congratulate all the inductees tonight. Great stories. This is just an awesome game, isn't it? I mean, everybody in this room loves this game, and that's why we're here. we love it. And you just can't let it go when you get older. It's hard to explain, particularly to people who haven't played this game. I mean, it's unique in every way. But we love it. We stay with it. As long as I'm still having fun, I'm still going to stay with it. And I am still having fun here. But first of all, I would like to say that the best thing that ever happened to me was to marry my wife, Mary, for 35 years over here. And to have my 3 wonderful sons, Jay, Reed, and Tyler, here tonight. They're all here. So. My wife has organized 13,000 meals, printed brochures, helped with fundraisers, listened to all the coaches' problems. She's attended 4,000 games and 1,000 other details that have benefited our kids and our parents. Thanks so much, Mary. I love you. What are the rewards? The rewards here, it's really hard to explain again unless most of you people do understand because you are connected with our game. This isn't about goals or assists, how many saves you had, how many wins or losses you had. It's the love of the game. It's about the people and the friendship and the life's experiences that you have here. They can't be replaced. No matter how much money you make in this world, nothing replaces those experiences. I mean, I've got teammates here tonight. I've got my best friend, Carl Lancaster, from high school over here. We played together more than 40 years ago. I've got some of my best friends from college here. Where's Wendell? Where are you, buddy? Stand up, Wendell. Stand up. Don't be bashful. I'm going to tell a story about you in North Carolina, okay? Wendell worked a full-time job at night in a bakery while he went to school and still play lacrosse and was voted top defenseman in the country. Unbelievable, buddy. I got a teammate here when I played in the North-South game, Pat McArdle. Where are you, Pat? You've moved. You moved on me. Great to see you, buddy. We're still standing, huh? But it's just amazing all that this game has done for us. The people that we meet, the college friendships, they're my best friends. They will stay when they, again, Darky, he's godfather of my kid. If it weren't for lacrosse, I would never have known it, okay? Another godfather's not here tonight, but it just goes on and on and on. I love the game so much I decided to stay on as a coach. And it really wasn't for the money because I always had another job to go along with it. But I love working with these kids, and I just think of all the people that I've met, but I mean the players, their parents, youth leagues, referees, even Homer Schwartz over here, but opposing coaches, both from high school and college. The list goes on, and literally I've met thousands of people through this wonderful game. And we continue to meet more people every year. But it's just a special experience to work with these kids. You watch them grow. You come, and I'm a high school coach. Right? I see these little boys come in 8th grade. They're little kids. 4 years later, they're young men, and they develop such a great love for the game. It affects where they're going to college. It affects their careers after college. But you become a part of their life. They become a part of your life. I'm getting phone calls and emails from kids from Oregon. I have kids that I coach who are now coaching in Oregon, New Mexico, West Virginia, South Carolina, all over the country, Indiana. I mean, they're all over the place here, but they love the game. They're staying with it, and that's what it's all about here. But you share a lot of memories. You know, we have the graduations, we have weddings, we have funerals, new babies, new careers, successes and failures. It keeps going and going. But after Homer called me, and I told my wife and my boys about this great honor here, the first people I called were my coaches. And I called 3 out of 4. The 4th was my dad, who passed away several years ago, along with my mom. But my dad was, his name is Norwood Southern, and he was an All-American at Maryland. He coached me, he started coaching me in high school. And then he gave way to another coach named Mickey DiMaggio.
My father actually coached Mickey DiMaggio. Mickey credits my dad with turning his life around, or else he probably would have ended up in jail. Well, I wasn't headed to jail, but I tell you, Mickey turned my life around because he truly believed in me. And I love the man for it, and he would love to be here, but he just had a hip replacement, okay? My next coach was Dick Adele. He coached me in my freshman year at Towson State College in those days, and that's when you had to play freshman ball. And Dick's just a very special guy. Those three guys are all in the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame. My fourth coach was Carl Runk, my varsity coach at Towson State College. He was there for more than 30 years. All right. He's in the Baltimore Lacrosse Hall of Fame. 4 coaches, 4 Hall of Famers. These guys were so much alike. They were so intense. This was back with the day of wooden sticks. Carl will tell you, yeah, they grab your face mask, they twist it around, they get in your face, and the spit's flying and everything else in here, and they call your names, they yell at you, they kick you in the butt, and God, we loved them. Didn't we? Do that nowadays, you have to go to counseling, but we love these guys. Coach Runk called me yesterday from Florida. He said, John, congratulations, have a great night. Talking about last night, I said, Coach, it's Saturday night. Okay. 3 minutes later, have a good night tonight. Coach always got things a little mixed up. 3 times he thought I was being inducted last night, but that's it. It's okay. It's the thought that counts. But 4 guys, 4 Hall of Famers. These guys loved the game. They had a tremendous passion for the game. And I, as a player, I knew how much each day meant to these guys when I came, and the intensity and the hard work and the passion they put into that. And they instilled a lot of that in me, because I get on my players tremendously the same exact way, same way. I'm old school, but I have that passion. I love the game here. I went on to, after I got out of college, I went to St. Mary's College, and I was 24 years old. Most of my players look older than I did at the time. But the one unique, I was there 6 years, but the one unique experience I had when I was there, all in the course of 1 year, I had the chance to coach against all 3 of these coaches. Mickey DiMaggio, he was coaching at Washington College. Dick Adele was at Baltimore University. Carl Runk at Towson. And the 4th coach, my dad, was a spectator at these games. And I can't tell you the feeling I had standing on the sidelines looking down there at my other coaches, and I just grinned. And really didn't matter who won the game. By the way, they did win all the games here, but just being there with those guys is so special here. And great guys, so. I went to St. Mary's Riken 21 years ago, high school. I told them I'd start it for 2 years to get it going, then they could hire somebody full-time to the school and really take it over. Well, I just couldn't quite let go here, and I'm still at it. Mary Joy Herbert, thanks for the job. Please don't fire me yet. I'm still having fun. Where are you, Mary Joy? Thank you so much. Okay. I had the unique pleasure of coaching all 3 of my sons there. I don't know if it was a pleasure for them, but I did enjoy it. Okay. All 3 of them went on to play in college, and I really enjoyed watching them play. A year ago, I had 2 of my sons were my assistant coaches on the sideline. I'm looking to my right, there's one. Looking to my left, there's another one. The 3rd one was a spectator, came to many of our games. My oldest son, Jay, is now head coach at Wheeling Jesuit University in West Virginia, and he truly loves his job. So, good things, good things. These are experiences you would never get at a regular job, but then again, this isn't a job. And if someone calls it a job, they're in it for the wrong reason. We do this because we love it. I truly love it. I love working with the kids, and I'm still having fun. So to all you young people out there, you just remember these are great years, high school and college. You're playing just an awesome, awesome game. You're playing with the best friends of your life, and many of these players will be your lifetime friends forever. And this is just cool. So you see, it's not about statistics. Nobody will know a year or 2 from now how many goals you scored, how many wins you had. It certainly isn't about money. I think they paid me $400 as a head coach at St. Mary's College. I moved from Baltimore for $400. Can you believe that? My wife said, John, you know what you're doing? Yeah, we did. Great times, great times. Friendship, teammates, special camaraderie, assistant coaches. I got a lot of them here. Now, Don Barron's here tonight, and Don ran the JV and I ran the varsity for about 10 years. We didn't have assistant coaches, all right? My varsity game's over, I'm helping Don. His JV's over, he's helping me. But then a lot of my players started. Could I have my assistant guys just stand up who helped me out over the years? Please stand up. I'd like to recognize you. Oh, they're all in the back because they were at the bar too long. They wouldn't let them in. That's what happens. Great guys. Great memories. That's what this is all about. I'm extremely grateful and honored. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Thanks to everybody that came. There were over 240 people here tonight to welcome the class of 2009. So I think that's worth it. Congratulations to all the members and inductees, and we need you up here to take a group picture. So the bar's open for everybody else. The inductees here with us. Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.